Welcome to the Mystic Media channel. I'm your host, Regina Rastaban, aka the Realist Astrologer. And here is part 2 of the 3-part video series on Faith Evans and Stevie J's marriage. Now, in part 1, I forgot to mention that Faith Evans' moon is in Libra, and it's conjoined to Uranus. Now, I don't know what time she was born, but I would think that that conjunction's pretty close, just because of her life story, and also because she's very fair-skinned, very light, and that Uranus can produce a very light complexion. The same with Aquarius. Not all the time, but Aquarius and Uranus, they can deal with a lightening effect, or where there is even depigmentation, because I've seen charts of people who have albinism and they have strong Aquarius energy in their charts. So it's definitely connected with having very light skin. So also this deals with, of course, her music career, her moon in Libra in particular, and this could deal with her associations, her friendships within the music industry as well. But this also deals with her personal relationships and her marriage. This basically lets you know that she's very tolerant. She's very tolerant of her partner's need to be very liberated. She's very tolerant of her partner's need to be unique, and even to engage in, I would say, alternative partnerships. So she might even be into the whole, group sex thing. Let me see if she has and her moon, again, like I said, I don't know what degree is that because I don't have her birth time, but it's in trine to her sun, and it would make sense that that trine is kind of close because how she's had come-ups through men in the industry. So her moon is in trine to her sun and Saturn in Gemini, and that can even just deal with her marriage to Biggie and how basically that helped her to become even more prominent within the industry. She became well known for being Biggie's wife. So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So now let's get into Stevie J's chart. And this is where it could get kind of controversial for some people. Now, some people, like hearing this, you might already know where I'm going with this, because there's been plenty of rumors and stuff about Stevie J. So if you've been watching Love and Hip Hop, if you know about Stevie J's background and history, he even said that himself, he calls himself Sleazy J, I believe, at times. So he basically lets it be known that, he's sleazy, and, he's that hypersexual type of dude, and he don't make no bones about it. So I definitely see this in his chart. So Stevie J was born November 2nd, 1971. That makes him a Scorpio. He's a strong Scorpio in that he has his Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Scorpio. His Sun is at the 9th degree of Scorpio. That basically reinforces that Scorpio energy, and that can contribute to him being hypersexual. His Sun is opposed to his moon in Taurus, again, like Faith Evans. I don't know what time that Stevie J was born, but considering the factors in his life, I would say that this opposition is fairly close. So with the birth time that I just arbitrarily chose, his moon is at the 6th degree of Taurus, which fits his musical career. His moon in Taurus fits his musical career alone, but at the 6th degree, that reinforces music, artistry. And he's made a lot of money as well, so that would reinforce that as well. And his Sun is at the 9th degree. That's, rather tight considering the circumstances. He didn't grow up with his mother. I believe his mother was addicted to drugs. More about that in a minute. But his birth number, let me get into his birth number. So his birth number of 2, that explains why he has all the children, because 2 is moon Cancer energy. Basically, as a Scorpio male, it makes him very fertile. And the issues with baby mamas, child support, he can't get enough women, that points to that. This can also deal with he's very in touch with his feminine side. And let's just say he could be very receptive if you catch my drift. Now his life path is 31, breaks down to 4. This reflects his Aquarius North Node and his Mars in Aquarius. So this can deal with a life of instability, drastic changes, upheavals. Also where he has many associations. It's good for music production because I always say that Aquarius is one of the best signs for a music producer. And also, it points to where he should be more of a hermit in this lifetime. Now, going back to his sun opposing his moon in Taurus, this points to all that child support that he owes. It points to the baby mama drama, but it also points to his relationships with women being highly dysfunctional. Now, this could have started with his father, because the sun represents your father. So his father may have corrupted his mother because the moon represents your mother. So I'm looking at that with his sun in Scorpio, his moon in Taurus. I'm looking at that as perhaps his father could have corrupted his mother. So he inherited this tendency of corrupting women through his father. So Stevie J kind of has like that good girl turned bad or good girl going bad type of hookup in his chart. Like he likes to corrupt women. And I also look at this as like a Swengali aspect. So he is very much a Swengali. Basically, a Swengali is the smooth type of character that will build a woman up, or anybody basically will take a person under their wings, will feed them, clothe them, house them, support them, encourage them, train them, coach them, and mold them into basically their own image. So it's like the whole My Fair Lady, Pygmalion, but in a more sinister way. Because usually the person doesn't have that person's best interest at heart. So this opposition also points to him wanting to overpower women. It points to him possessing women and then discarding them, or also like making them over, transforming them, and then discarding them when they no longer want to be possessed by him. Also shows that he has something to hide. Now his sun is in square to his nodes. Again, he has his North Node in Aquarius, his South Node in Leo. Now, I call this the gay lunar nodal axis. And the reason why is mainly because of that Aquarius energy. And Aquarius is the main sign of homosexuality. Now, aside from that, well, basically what I'm saying is I do see Stevie J as having homosexual tendencies, or you might as well say bisexual tendencies. And it's really no surprise because there's been a lot of rumors about him being like that anyway. Even like Joseline has claimed that he's been with transgender women. So more on that in a minute. Now, I also see this hookup, this square between his nodes and his sun as being indicative of narcissistic personality disorder, mainly due to his Leo South node. Also, this points to issues with his self-image, so he needs to feed off of other people, use them, exploit them. He lacks integrity. I would consider him a somatic narcissist, meaning like he's more so of the sexual type, sex fiend type, hypersexual. His ego needs constant gratification, which is why he keeps creating these children. And also, this explains his heavy child support obligations again. I believe he owes over $1 million. Also, he does a lot of undercover shit because you always have to think about Scorpio as being the sign of undercover shit. So again, this reinforces his homosexual tendencies, that gay lunar nodal axis that I talked about, and with his South Node being at the 9th degree of Leo, his Aquarius North Node being at 9th degree. 9th degree is a very masculine degree that can point to male, and an attraction to male. And also, I'm not going to get into this just yet, so let me just bold this in red right now because I took some notes. I'll just say this. In this lifetime, with his Aquarius North Node, he's supposed to live according to his truth. No matter what anybody says, he's supposed to say, it don't matter. I'm going to live according to my truth. I'm going to be who I am. Now that Aquarius North Node and his Mars in Aquarius also points to him being a music producer. Because again, like I said, I consider Aquarius to be one of the best signs for music production and music composition, also for like a sound engineer, all that good stuff. I consider Aquarius to have a really fine ear for music. Now, Aquarius North Node also points to him needing to be unique in some way, needing to basically also be part of some type of collective, which he has, being part of Bad Boy back in the day, being part of the production team, and he's produced for a lot of artists. So he has fulfilled that Aquarius North Node in certain ways, especially in terms of the music industry. But he's still very much stuck in that Leo South Node framework, with him being very egotistical, him being hypersexual. With that Aquarius North Node, he's not even really supposed to be too sexual in this lifetime. But he is, which lets you know that he's still stuck in that Leo South Node framework, and that square between his Leo South Node and Scorpio Sun points to that as well. Him being a Scorpio just makes it hard alone for him to, kind of quell that strong sexual, those strong sexual urges he has within him. So he's living according to his truth, but he's doing it in a roundabout way, because he still isn't being totally straight up about who he really is and who he is really attracted to. Now, his sun is in quincunx to Chiron. His Chiron is in Aries. That alone could just produce a dysfunctional life, a dysfunctional person. It's also further indication of him being a narcissist, also a sexual deviant, and also it could deal with him finding alternative means to legitimize his taboo desires, because Scorpio is the sign of taboo activity. But I'm going to come back to this Sun quincunx Chiron, so I hope I remember. Now, his moon, again, I don't know what time he was born, so I don't know exactly where that moon is at in terms of degrees, but with the time that I have, it's in quincunx with his Neptune, and that would make a lot of sense, because this could deal with him being into a master-slave type of relationship with women, or where he looks at women as almost like dolls, or like he wants to make them into his own Barbie doll. Also, where he just has screwed up ideas about women. It points to issues with his mother. I think his mother was a drug addict, and the whole abandonment thing at the hands of his mother, so that turns into issues with women in his adult life. Also points to his own issues with addiction. I remember on one season of Love and Hip Hop, he actually checked himself into rehab, so that points to that as well. And this could point to him having some shady tendencies, being a liar, being dishonest about, his life, and especially his personal life. And also, this could deal with the type of women that he's attracted to. So, let me just bold this part, because I gotta get back to that. Now, his moon is in square to his north and south node. So again, I don't know what time he was born, but you have to take into account the person's life story when you don't know their birth time, because that can really help. So, if a person has some serious issues with their upbringing, like we know for a fact that Stevie J's mother was not in his life. So, that basically supports aspects involving the moon, challenging aspects being rather tight. So, with that being said, I'm safely assuming that these squares and this quincunx involving his moon are rather tight, considering his life story and his background. Now, considering his challenges with being a parent, his challenges with women. So his moon is in square to his north and south nodes, and this can point to karmic-induced challenges with women, baby mama drama. It's let me bold this because I don't want to get to this part yet. I keep on trying to not get ahead of myself. But basically, I'll say this, because his moon is in Taurus, and Taurus is the sign of legitimacy. It's a sign of things being above board, things being normal, or normalized, or mainstream. So, or socially acceptable, you can even say, because it's a sign of standards, values. So, that Taurus moon points to his need to make shit seem legit, above board. So it's in square to his north and south nodes, which points to him having sun to high, especially when you take that opposition to his sun into account. So that right there, when you put the opposition to his sun into account, so his sun opposing his moon, and then squaring the nodes, so his moon and sun square these nodes, and that forms a fixed grand cross. So that lets you know that he is dealing with some serious conflicts, internal and external. So it also points to him not being authentic in some way. I'll say that him basically living a life where there's a lot underneath the surface, mainly because of that Scorpio influence and because of the South Node. Now, his Venus is at the 24th degree of Scorpio. That points to his musical collaborations, especially since Venus is at the 24th degree. And that 24th degree is good for just attracting money and earning money. It's really fortunate. But his Venus in Scorpio can bring many cases of infidelity where he just can't be monogamous. And also this could deal with him liking women that he could corrupt or women who are already corrupted. So, I was dealing with this guy and he has Venus in Scorpio and he was saying that he loves whores and stuff, and he's not the only Venus in Scorpio dude I've heard say that. So, a Venus in Scorpio man, even if he may not be upfront about it, he may get off on hoes. Now, Venus in Scorpio can also point to his money problems because Scorpio deals with debt, so that deals with his financial obligations, namely child support. Now, his Venus is conjoined to Neptune, but his Neptune is in Sagittarius. It's at the 1st degree, which is good for money because Venus conjoined to Neptune alone can be the millionaire aspect. Not in all cases, but in some cases, it's one of the millionaire aspects. But it can also result in financial bondage, financial sacrifices. But this also deals with his musical career, him being with women in the industry like Eve, now Faith, but even Joseline, she had her music career going. Him wishing to enslave women, wanting women to be at his mercy, him having these fantasies about women or being into fantasy women. It can also deal with a relationship or a marriage that's a sham. So remember when he lied about him and Joseline being married? Also reinforces the potential for him to be attracted to women who aren't all that they seem. More about that in a minute. Now, his Mars is at the 28th degree of Aquarius. That, again, is good for music production. Also means that with that 28th degree, that deals again with his affiliations with Bad Boy. Also with his affiliations with other people in the industry, which resulted in him making a lot of money. And also this deals with him being a stone cold freak because that 28th degree is rather sexual. And this does point to homosexual tendencies, especially with the 28th degree, because that 28th degree is very masculine. And it could point to him being into group sex. And there was that story that came out with him and Mimi and Joseline having that threesome, and I'm sure he's had plenty of others. But basically, it could point to him being into alternative forms of sex, and also where he may be attracted to androgyny. Now, I'm not saying that all men with Mars and Aquarius are going to have these homosexual tendencies, because depending on what Mars is doing in their chart, that energy could be channeled elsewhere. But considering the fact that he has the gay lunar nodal axis, you have to take that into account as well. That reinforces it. Now, his Venus is in square to Mars. So that means that he's not relationship oriented, at least in terms of harmonious relationships. I mean, he's very conflict oriented. It means that he's very inconsiderate of others' feelings. He's monogamy challenged. Women may not be enough for him due to that Scorpio Aquarius influence. So again, his Venus is in Scorpio. His Mars is in Aquarius, which could produce a stone cold freak. And if we're talking about a man, women may not be enough for him, if you know what I'm saying. So this could deal with him also being prone to be abusive, many interpersonal conflicts, financial problems with him trying to find means to get around the system. And this could deal with him his child support obligation. So that could deal with him trying to find ways to make money under the table so that he doesn't have to report it to child support. Now, his Venus is conjoined to Mercury. This deals with his musical ability. Also makes him a smooth talker, a Svengali type because of the Scorpio influence. Also, this deals with him influencing women's minds. Also, let me go back to the Venus conjoined to Neptune because I forgot to say this could deal with scandals involving women. And did I mention that that Venus conjoined to Neptune aspect, while it can be a millionaire aspect, it can lead to financial ruin. I think I said that. Also, this could deal with him trying to trap women, his addiction to women, and also him wanting to fashion women into his own making. And I remember one time he did tell Joseline when she was threatening to leave him, he was like, well, I made you, or something like that. His Mercury is in square to Mars, and that could deal with him saying one thing but doing another. It can make him quite disagreeable, too impulsive. He does things but doesn't think them through before he does it. It could deal with him having a perverted mind because Mars is in Aquarius, the sign of perversion. It could deal with him being verbally abusive. His Neptune is opposed to Pallas and Gemini. Let me get to that in a minute because now I got to get down to the nitty gritty with Stevie J and these rumors about his sexuality. I definitely see it in his chart, and it definitely seems like he has something to hide. I'm definitely seeing where he could be attracted to drag queens and transgender women. So that could be part of the whole fantasy thing with the women, with his Venus conjoined to Neptune. He also has Lilith, the asteroid Lilith, running parallel to his North Node. And this is very interesting. Very interesting, because when I saw this, I was like, jackpot. It was the confirmation that I needed, because this is where it could get kind of controversial. And I might even lose some subscribers off of this, but I'm going out on a limb. But like I said, I feel like some of my viewers already will feel me on this, will already know what I'm talking about, because they've already perceived this too. And again, you got to think about Hollywood, you got to think about TV. Not everything that you see is real, okay? And now we are living in the age of Aquarius, you might as well say. So a lot of the stuff that you see, but even going back before we entered the age of Aquarius, which is debatable. Some people say we're still in the age of Pisces. I say we're in the age of Aquarius. But this turned into a long-ass video. But like I was saying, you have to think outside the box now. So, with Joseline saying that Stevie J is attracted to transgender women, I believe it from looking at his chart. Now, again, Stevie J has Lilith parallel North Node, and this can deal with, because because Lilith is at the 11th degree of Scorpio, and then 11 can deal with women, but it can deal with a conflict involving women, internal or external. And it could deal with where things aren't all that they seem, because we're talking about Scorpio. So this could deal with his attraction to transgender women, or just even being with them. It can also deal with him wanting women who are sexually liberated, who are sexually deviant in some way, or where he turns them into Liliths. Also where he wants whores. This could deal with him also parading his whores around. So that's how he was with Joseline. He loved showing Joseline off when she was wearing skimpy clothing and all that stuff. Now, this is where it gets kind of crazy, because he also has Toro parallel his North Node. His Toro is at the 2nd degree of Scorpio. Do you see the pattern? The 11th degree of Scorpio, Lilith is at. Toro is at the 2nd degree of Scorpio. So we're talking about Cancer, Moon energy, feminine energy. But Toro is an asteroid that deals with hypermasculine energy. So this can deal with, perhaps, Stevie J being attracted to androgynous males. That 2nd degree of Scorpio can deal with transgender women, because Scorpio is a sign of transformation. It is one of the main signs and indicators of transgenderism. So, take his Aquarius North Node into account. Again, I say he needs to live according to his truth, but because of the square to his moon and sun, he's not living fully according to his truth. He still is hiding a lot. So that second degree of Scorpio again can deal with Toro being at the second degree of Scorpio. Parallel, his Aquarius North Node can deal with him being attracted to androgynous males who could pass for female. Again, Venus conjoined to his Neptune could deal with him being attracted to drag queens, transgender women, because his Venus is in Scorpio. Neptune influence, I always say, is the part that contributes to the drag queen, because it's about costumes, makeup, pageantry. That's Neptune. Now, his Neptune is opposed to Pallas in Gemini. So that could deal with trying hard to keep a lie going, or to keep information from being leaked in the media. Because again, Pallas is in Gemini, and Pallas is like where you are fighting against something or fighting for something. And Pallas is also a female warrior. So, I keep thinking about Joseline, because Joseline is very feisty. And Joseline does have a very androgynous look. So stay with me on this. And Gemini could deal with having a dual persona. So Saturn and Gemini, Stevie J Saturn and Gemini is opposed to the asteroid Icarus. And this could deal with some truth being leaked to the media. Now, let me go back. His Sun conjunct Chiron again, that could deal with some issue involving a child. Perhaps of having a child by artificial means. Because when you deal with that Chiron, Chiron can deal with things that are artificial, things that are exceptional. Also, with that Sun being in square to his north or south nodes, again, Leo can deal with children. His south node is in Leo, so that shows that he has some issues with children, challenges with children. That could deal with a child being conceived via external circumstances, via surrogate, maybe, perhaps. I don't know if y'all already see where I'm going with this. Now, the moon again, squaring his nodes. This supports my theory of Stevie J dealing with transgender women. And also, like I said, Joseline claimed that he was dealing with transgender women as well. Now, I pulled a card to represent who Stevie J is in terms of his character, and I got the Seven of Cups, which is Venus and Scorpio. So this could deal with him always being on the verge of some type of change, always looking for the next thrill, him not being able to decide what woman he wants, him having issues with infidelity, insatiable desires, him being full of sexual urges, him being very much about fantasy, him having something to hide, being an addict. So that Seven of Cups card is not a positive card for the most part. And y'all, those of you who are in the tarot, y'all already know what that card is about. So it basically describes Stevie J to a T. It's like Sleazy J. That's basically him. Now, about Joseline. Now, Joseline, again, she's pretty pissed off and bitter because of this recent marriage to Faith Evans, between Stevie J and Faith. So, naturally, it's pretty, understandable that she's ticked off. But we have to look at Joseline for a minute. Now, when Joseline first came on the scene, I immediately thought that Joseline was transgender. Because I consider myself to have a really good eye. I've been given the gift of discernment. Especially, as evidenced by various factors in my chart. So I've been given the gift of keen discernment. And I have keen discernment when it comes to various things in life that a lot of people miss. But this is really nothing new, because there's a lot of people who had questioned Joseline's gender. There's even an article on a transgender website where it's called transgender.com, but it's spelled with a Z instead of S for the trans. I think I bookmarked it, but for lack of time, I'm not gonna read it. But I recall what it says. Basically, this transgender woman was writing an article pointing to the rumors about Joseline Hernandez being transgender, and she even was saying that now Joseline is taking shots at transgender by basically trying to say that Stevie J is attracted to transgender women, or that he was dealing with transgender women. So basically, this writer on this website was calling Joseline out. Not saying that, yeah, Joseline is transgender, but she was just saying, yeah, there's been rumors in the past. So, and like, if you go on YouTube and look at the comment section, a lot of people do believe, like, on a lot of Joseline videos, a lot of people do believe Joseline's a biological woman or female, but a lot of people believe that Joseline is a biological male. Now, that's where I come in. Because like I said, I originally believed that Joseline is a transgender woman. And in my opinion, there's a lot of transgender women in Hollywood and on TV that can pass very well for biological women, and we just don't know. And a lot of them are merging on the scene. It's not just about, oh man, why can't I think of her name right now? The one that played in Orange is the New Black, Laverne Cox. There's some that are still in the closet, but they're, in movies, they're in, reality shows and stuff like that. So this isn't too much of a stretch. I mean, let's be real. Now, where I did have cause to pause in my suspicions is when I seen some pregnancy photos of Joseline. So I know some of my viewers are going to come at me with, oh no, there's photos of Joseline being pregnant. There's photos of Joseline being totally nude. So first of all, to get it cleared up, I believe Joseline could be a post-op transgender woman, meaning that she's had the surgery where she's had her penis and scrotum removed. And there are ways to disguise a pregnant or to fake a pregnancy. There's these moon bumps nowadays that can make a pregnant belly look really real, or that can create the illusion. And then you have airbrushing that you can make look like there's stretch marks and stuff. And then there's also Photoshop. So, like I said, I'll be the first one to admit that because I saw a couple of photos of Joseline with a pregnant belly, and I was like, damn. But I was like, Joseline could have also just been eating a lot and could have been poking out her belly and could have just drew like a little brown line and stuff. Look, people will go to great lengths to disguise who they really are. That's all I'm saying. So that's where Joseline's chart comes in. And I don't know if I should stop right here. I think I will. We might have to do 4 parts of it. And so I'm going to let this be a cliffhanger, because before y'all come at my neck, just stay with me on this, because I'm coming back with part 2. Part 3, where I'm going to get into Joseline's chart. And I did a 4-card reading about this. And when I did the 4-card reading and compared to her chart, I'm just like, I don't know. I'll leave it up for y'all to decide, but I already feel like I know what I believe. But I'll just leave it at that. But I'm coming back where I'm going to discuss the indicators in Joseline's chart, as well as the reading that I did. So stick with me on this. And again, like I said, I won't be surprised if I lose some subscribers and followers, maybe even some friends on this, because y'all might be stuck on those pregnancy photos. Y'all might be stuck on that episode where she gave birth and all that stuff. But I'm telling you, things have gotten very sophisticated in how they can fake things nowadays. So I'll be back with part 3. If you would like a reading, go to my website at rabina.com. Peace and many blessings.